Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Marg from Creative Stamping with Marg. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from St. Albert, Alberta in Canada. And today I have another, what I'm going to call angled card. Last week we did a card with angles. It was called Awesome Angles. And we made 3 cards with 2 cuts on our DSP. That turned out really great. If you were watching that one, that was a good one. So I'm sort of stuck on angles. I don't know why, but anyway, this one I cased from Jill's Card Creations, and it was done, I watched it a long time ago and never made them, but I did keep her video, and it's from 2018, so it's quite old, but it's been done many, many times. Anyways, let's get started, and I will show you how this one is going to work. So our card base is Lost Lagoon, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, and it will be a side fold like this. And the whole purpose of this is to make an angle feature on the card. So I will, maybe it would be easier before I get started if I show you a card that I made. I'll show you a couple of cards that I made first to give you an idea. So these are Christmas cards, and I just made these the other day, but it is using retired product. This is what I'm talking about, the angled piece. So there is a piece of cardstock and a piece of DSP there. Here's another one I made, different paper, but staying with the gray tones. So that's what I mean by an angled card panel. All right, so that gives you an idea what we're working with. So here's our card. Now the way we get that angled piece is I want a cardstock piece here, and I will put a piece of DSP on top. So the cardstock piece, to start with anyway, I made myself a template just on a piece of scratch paper, is 4 inches by 4.5 inches. And I want this top right-hand corner, I've got a little star in it, you can see. I want it to go on to the top right-hand corner of my card. So like this, right there. But I want to cover up this corner. So all I do is I just rotate my paper till I don't see that corner anymore, and there's my angle. So you can see that you're going to have, I'm going to turn this over so you can see it's not glued or anything, that you're going to just trim these pieces off. So that being said, once you've done one, if you like the way the angle is, then you can make yourself a template, which I did, again, just out of a scratch piece of paper. So there's my template. Once I had rotated that piece and trimmed it off, that's what it looks like. So that's my cardstock layer. So you can do this once you've done one. And again, this is a great way to start with just some scratch paper. So there's the template for that. Now my DSP layer needs to be a little bit smaller. So here's this supposed cardstock layer here. And then my DSP layer, it's going to be the same on the left-hand side and the same across the top, but you want an edge around so that you can see your cardstock. And the size of that edge is up to you. Now, so I just made this one, and I laid a piece of paper on top and decided how wide I wanted the border to show. That it's hard for you to see, sorry. Okay, if my cardstock layer was here and I laid my DSP on top here like this, then I wanted to see that much, and then I just made myself another template. So you can do that, or you can just wing it like I did for my very first card. I just put my cardstock on and I rotated it to where I wanted it, and I, measured it, and I got it where I wanted it. So now there's my cardstock layer that I used my template for. So I've cut it out. And that might save you a little bit of paper because, of course, every time you'd be cutting off these little triangles off your paper. So this might save you a little bit of time. So there's my cardstock layer. Now I can glue that down onto my card if I wanted before I get my DSP on. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this. I am using the Hello Irresistible DSP. This is Lost Lagoon. This is Pretty Peacock cardstock. Here's the piece I'm using. And again, I want this sort of the leafy part. And you could just lay it the way you want it. eyeball your edges. That looks good. You could just put a little bit of glue on here, stick it down, and then you just pick it up, turn it over, and you can cut these off. So you can do it that way. You could do it without it being put on the card. You can do it just onto your cardstock layer here and do the same thing, cut it, and then glue the whole thing onto your card, however you want to do it. Or you can take your, if you've made yourself a template, you can go ahead and just use your template and just cut along here if you want. So however you'd like to put it together. I think the easiest way for me was I went ahead and put my cardstock down, and then I put my DSP down, and then I turned the whole thing over and just cut it off. So we can attach this. Now, I will say, if you're going to do any stamping, because this takes up a fair amount of real estate when you're going to put a greeting on here, and you'll see the cards I did show you, I did my greetings on the corners, that one there on that corner, and then this one here. So I did those first before I did any. I laid it down and made sure I had enough room for my greeting, and then I took this off and went ahead and did it. So that's up to you. I think it's easier to get your greeting on there before you start gluing all your other pieces on. So that's up to you. On this particular card, I am doing a separate greeting on. I'm using the double oval punch. So I'll show that to you in a minute. Anyways, I am going to go ahead and glue this down. I am going to use my Tombow glue and just lay it down onto the cardstock. And you're matching the top left and the very top of the card, just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay my piece down like this, and knowing that I'm leaving an edge on this side and an edge at the bottom, I am going to put my glue on, but leave that edge so that I know there won't be glue on the outside of this. Okay, and so you can leave as much showing as you want, as little of a border, and I'm just eyeballing it and hoping I'm straight. All right. And that's how that's done. Turn it over, and I'm just going to use my scissors and just carefully trim it off, just like this. Okay. Oops. And if this makes you nervous, then you're better off to put your DSP onto your angled cardstock piece and do that. But this works just as good. You are left with kind of an odd piece, but that's the way that goes. All right, so there's the angled panel on our card. All right, I really like the way it looks. I think it's an interesting effect. And I've already heat embossed. I'm making this into a sympathy card. I've already heat embossed the greeting on here. I used my double oval punch, and I used the scalloped one. And the greeting with Deepest Sympathy came from Something Fancy. And I heat embossed it in silver. And I was thinking I would put it here. I thought it fit perfectly there. And I used the artistic dies coming from the Artistically Inked set. There's the dies. And I used this die, and I cut it out of silver foil and did a little bit of surgery on it. So I just cut off just the top part. So those top 4 leaves. And I thought I would use it in here. And just to give this a little something. Okay. So that was my thought on that. And I'm going to put the greeting up on dimensionals, and I will use black dimensionals. I was saying last week that I'm forever forgetting to use these because I just forget I have them, but being that we're using a dark color, I'm going to use them this week also. Okay. And then we'll do our inside, and then I'll show you one other card that I made out of this. Now, with this being, I didn't want to really hide this angle, so I kind of wanted to manipulate these a little bit. So I think I will just use a little bit of glue and glue them down, but I'm thinking maybe I will do it now before I put my greeting on. So just on the parts that there's quite a bit of real estate, I will just put a little bit of glue. They don't have to be glued all the way down. It's kind of nice to have your leaves not glued flat down. It gives them a nice, I don't know, just gives your card a little more dimension when it's not all glued flat down. Now, I want these to be separated a bit. So, and I can't have it overhanging my edge there, of course. So I'm going to just do it like that. And I like that you can see the corner of that. And I don't mind that is sticking out a little bit. Actually, I think I'll put that over now. I've taken the dimensionals off. I'm thinking I maybe will cut this like that. Don't need that long tail on there. Okay. And put our greeting on there with Deepest Sympathy. Really like the way that looks. And on the inside, I cut off the top of this piece of DSP, I cut a 1/2 inch piece off the top. So it came from the top here. And I cut a piece of the Pretty Peacock strip. And I thought just to make it cohesive with this, I thought I would just put the strip along the top like this and leave a little bit coming off the bottom. There, just like that. And it sort of mirrors what I've done there. You can see I got a little bit of glue sticking out there. That's okay. I'm going to put this on the inside. So this strip is 4 1/2, right? Sorry, 4 1/4. 4 1/4 inches long, sorry. And I will just stick this down at the bottom. I did already stamp the inside, and I stamped one of the leaves from the Irresistible Blooms, the one that's got 3 leaves on it. I stamped it off in the Lost Lagoon, stamped it off once and stamped it here. And in the Pretty Peacock, I put this greeting that came. This is a retired set, Timeless Tulips. May the memories of yesterday comfort you today. So I am going to put that in here as my inside piece. And I use deckled rectangles to cut this piece out. And of course, you can use a larger white piece if you think you're going to be doing more writing. Quite often, I don't know about you, but it's hard to find the right words to put into a sympathy card. So sometimes I like the fact that I've just got just a little bit to work with. And of course, you know, if this overhangs the edge, you can just trim it off, which I will do because it is overhanging there, like that. All right. So there's our card. Now, for embellishments, I didn't want any ribbon on here. Didn't want to hide this angle, really. But we do have the Festive Pearls, and they have a green color. And I thought it kind of went with this Lost Lagoon. I think initially it was called Soft Succulent, but they're now just calling it green. But I thought these little pearls might work good. You could also use silver. Just tuck a few in here. I think they take on the color of what's on the card here. There we go. So there's our card. That was easy. Like I said, once you do one, you can make yourself a template, and then all of your cards would look the same. I will lay these 2 out now. I said these were the first 2 that I made. This was the first one I made. You can see the angle is quite different. Then I made this one, and I moved it a little more to the center, you know, pointing down, and I liked this one better. So that's the one I did my my template from. So there's our card. Now I did do one more, and it was also done with the Hello Irresistible paper, but the other color, I put it on Flirty Flamingo. So it was that other, all those other colors of paper. And this card is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So it opens the other way, but that doesn't matter because it's just all up at the top of your fold there. And I just die cut some of the flowers and some of the leaves out of that set and gave them a little shape. I used the online exclusive ribbon. Can't remember what it's called. Let me see. Glittered organdy ribbon. I used it behind here just to give, so there is a little ribbon on this one. But again, I didn't want to hide this angled corner. I also heat embossed with white on the corner here, and I did that first before I did any of the other work. And in the inside, I put Happy Birthday and just a strip of DSP with the white cardstock behind. So those are the cards. And I think it's kind of fun, something different. Again, it's an angled card panel is what she called this, Jill's Card Creations. I'll give her credit for that because I loved it. And did case her cards. She did a whole bunch of different ones that you'd be able to see if you went to her page. All right, so that's it for today. This will be the last installment for July. And I will be back in August with some new cards. These are, I would consider these quick and easy, depending on how much work you put into them, but it's pretty simple. And I think you could use some scrap paper if you had it, some of your scraps of DSP. I hope you give it a try. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe to my channel so that you are notified when my videos go live. I hope everybody has a great week. See you next Tuesday.